In this module, you'll need output 18 and a PDF file called scales. Output 18 and a PDF file called scales. Throughout our analyses, I've talked about variables made up of multiple single items. Scales are just another word for a variable that have numerous items to make them up. When you create a survey, you almost certainly don't want to create one that has one item, a single item, that measures a particular construct. So what you do is you try to write 5 to 10 items perhaps that measure the same thing but are worded quite differently. And then what you want to do is you want to test that those 5 indicators reliably really assess the same thing. So that's what we're going to talk about in this module. First, if we have multiple items, do they hold together as one reliable scale? And then secondly, how do you take multiple items from a survey and in SPSS create one scale or one variable that's a combination of those items? So when you look at the file called scales, I have an example called teacher autonomy, and that's made up of 5 items from a teacher survey. You'll see that after the 5 items, you'll see the alpha sign equals 0.6877. That alpha is not like the alpha that we set at 0.05 to determine statistical significance. It's called Cronbach's alpha, and it's a measure of reliability, or more specifically what we refer to as internal consistency. Do the items within a scale correlate really highly with one another? Are they internally consistent so that they form a reliable scale? Any alpha of 0.65 or 0.70 or higher, depending on whom you ask, is representative of a reliable scale. So that teacher autonomy with a Cronbach's alpha of 0.6877, those 5 items can be combined to a reliable scale. So when you look at those 5 items, I can take little action at the school until a superior approves it. That has an asterisk in front of it. And the reason that does is because it's what's called reverse coded. If someone strongly agreed that they can take little action at the school until a superior approves it, they're actually agreeing that they don't have any autonomy. So reverse coded items, if 1 was a strongly agree, strongly disagree, 2 was a disagree, 3 was an agree, and 4 was a strongly agree, you would go into the database and you would recode a 4 to an equal 1, a 3 equals a 2 equals a 3, and a 1 equals a 4, so that you put all your items in the same direction. So if you look through those items, the second asterisk item says the rules and regulations at the school are rigid and inflexible. Again, that inflexibility is the reverse of teacher autonomy, so I would need to recode that. But when I read all 5 items after I've recoded 2, you could determine what's called face validity. If I read those items, would I know that they are indicative or representative of a construct called teacher autonomy? The second one, goal congruence, has a Cronbach's alpha of 0.8666, so it's very reliable. Again, if you looked at those items, would you know if it said at this school, teachers agree on the objectives we're trying to teach? My principles, values, and philosophy of education are similar to my own. The school has clear goals for student achievement, and so forth. Could you tell that that's the extent to which teachers are on the same page, so to speak, goal congruence? So those are indicators of single items that, when combined, assess one construct, in this case, teacher autonomy and goal congruence. So what I want you to do now is we're going to take multiple items and we're going to run a Cronbach's alpha and determine whether those items can be used to assess a scale. So go to Parent 2 Edited, which is in your K-12 database. With parent 2 edited, refer to output 18. And I have an example that has to do with parent influence. If you look at independent practice number 1 from database parent 2, the question is basically, if you had items 15A through 15J, do they form a reliable scale called parent influence? So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to analysis, and the key word for you to understand is scale. Scale meaning, again, just a variable made up of multiple items. So if you realize that Cronbach's alpha is about reliability of a scale, you should know exactly how to find which analysis to run within SPSS. So I'm going to go to reliability under scale, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to find 15A through 15J. And they will all have influence in the title. I can hold down the shift key, click on the first one and the last item, and move them all over together. And just for ease of understanding at this point, I'm going to click OK without running everything that's possible. And what you'll see is, down at the bottom, Cronbach's alpha, based on those 10 items, is 0.917. So those 10 indicators all speak to the same construct. And in this case, if you read the 10 items, they're very clearly about parent influence. So I'm going to go back to scale reliability analysis. I'm going to leave those same 10 items, and I'm going to click on statistics. And the most critical thing that you can do here is click on the scale if an item is deleted. But I also want you to just click on the item descriptives and click OK. And this time when we run it, we get a little more information after the reliability. Again, it's obviously the same overall Cronbach's alpha of 0.917. This time, I also ask for the descriptives, specifically the means for each individual item. And the table that's most important when I scroll down is this one. What this table does is it tells me in the very last column, if I deleted an item, could I make my Cronbach's alpha even better? Is there something that really doesn't fit with that construct? And so what you see in the first row of this last column is an alpha of 0.913. And what that means is, if I kept the 10 items with the exception of influence in hiring and firing staff, what would the alpha for the remaining 9 items be? And it would be 0.913. So you could look at this and you could say, what item seems to fit the least? And that's the item that if you got rid of it, would leave you with the highest alpha, which would be this 0.914. So if I drop influence over assignment to teacher, then I would raise my alpha from 0.914. In this particular example, you really wouldn't want to delete any items. You don't want to delete an item if it only raises your alpha a small fraction. So these really hold together, and you would just want to use all 10. So let's go to another example where some item may not fit. For independent practice 2, this time I want you to go up to analyze, and we're going to look at parent involvement items. So we're going to go down to scale, run a reliability analysis, go ahead and click reset, and that moves all of the items that were presently there back over. And we're going to find all the things that have to do with parental involvement, which is our Q14A all the way down to Q14G. I'm going to move them over and click OK. This time, parental involvement with those 7 items has a Cronbox alpha of 0.798. So again, those are reliable, internally consistent items, and I could combine them all together and use them as one variable called parental involvement. But I want to go back to what I took off when I reset the whole model, and I want to ask for some additional information. I want to see the items, means for each one, and I want to again see, can I make it an even better scale if I deleted a particular item? So my item means come after the overall Cronbach alpha, and again at the bottom I could instantly see if I got rid of come to school when there's a problem and only use the remaining items, I would have a Cronbach alpha of 0.811. So that 0.811 is higher than the 0.798 that emerges when we include all of the items. Some people would say to you, go ahead and delete it, delete that one item and raise your alpha to 0.811. There's not really a correct answer about this because you already have a very reliable scale. I personally would look at that item and say, does it really fit? Does it fit with the other items? Does it have face validity? And if it does, since it's already a reliable scale, I would go ahead and use it because it's not that much added value to change something from a 0.798 alpha to a 0.811 and losing information from the entire survey to do that. If someone did it, there's no correct answer to that, it wouldn't be a terrible thing to do.